getting into the college was itself a matter of prestige. So I think it was a very simple decision for me, and I was very proud that I got into SVC.
We have now 10 undergraduate degree programs, 10 postgraduate programs, and 10 of our departments are recognized as research centers by Anna University, to which we are affiliated to.
SVC's consistent ranking as one of the top engineering institutions for the past 3 decades also supplemented my decision to join here.
Now our intake is more than 1,000 students per year, and we have a total of 4,500 students studying here.
When I see today where some of SVCians are placed in society, I'm really proud to say that I'm also from the same institution, and I think being a part of the Alumni Association has really given me that reach to be able to network with a lot more people.
Be it the freshmen or the seniors who you collaborate with present projects, papers and attend competitions, this one-of-a-kind atmosphere is very hard to find in other engineering colleges. That is something which makes SVCE very unique.
We have very eminent teachers, highly qualified, and also the students, we give them an all-round training. Apart from just academics, we sort of give them a good rounding, and it's a niche college. I want to keep it like that.
Also, there are other certification courses that SVCE has brought out in managerial economics, financial statement analysis, which are supplementary skill sets that each engineer should learn to join the workforce.
As an engineer, I think SVC taught me how to be a logic-driven person, to think analytically through all the problems. And I think that's a skill that I've been able to apply anywhere in my life.
We also have established various centers of excellence, such as the Center of Excellence in Electric and Hybrid Vehicles, a Center of Excellence in Computer-Aided Manufacturing, and we also have a Department of Science and Technology sponsored lab, which is in the area of nanotechnology research.
And even a small thing you take our water treatment plant or water reservoir, all that will be done in an industry. So we have done that here. Cricket field, the pavilion, we are giving both sports and education. We give an all-round development, which is appreciated by all.
SVC's placements are still shining. Out of the 620 odd eligible students of 2018-2019 batch, more than 90% of them have been placed, and 25% of those students have got dual offers as well.
They've established certain very nice moral values in the students, which I think is one of the reasons why SVC stands out as an institution and should be the choice that parents consider today.
My overall profile has been shaped with the help of my faculty members, utilizing which I've built over 10 projects in robotics and Internet of Things domains, and I have won in 5 regional and national level competitions, which wouldn't have been possible without their continuous support.
When the parents come to SVC, we take them around the institution, they see the infrastructure, they get mighty pleased. As a student also, they like the whole setup. Once they go and see the institution, then they come back and tell us we're very happy to join SVC.
SVC gave me the space to discover and push myself harder. So if there was one phrase that I was looking for, I think it's strive and achieve your goal, set really high standards.
I have meetings with the alumni, and I feel proud that they're very bright and they're all doing very well in their own fields.
If I were to describe SPCE in one word, it would be to empower. The reason is because we students have been given full access to infrastructure, the research facilities, and the faculty's brain power, so that we can utilize it to develop, cutting-edge technology and graduate as top-class engineers.
So pleasant good morning to you all. So I hope my voice is audible to every one of you. Yes, yes. Okay. So thank you so much. So we have the inaugural session at 9:30 a.m. So before that, I'd like to give few instructions to the participants regarding this online faculty development training program. So as you know very well, this is going to be a 6 days online program, which is sponsored by Anna University. So before moving on to the instructions to the participants, so I'd like to introduce Dr. R. Satya, so the coordinator of this particular FDP program to you. So may I now request Dr. Satya to switch on her video and as well as her mic and to introduce herself to the participants. Miss Ranjita, madam, I request the other participants in general to switch off your video as well as mute your mic. Yeah, thank you. So she's Dr. Satya. Yeah, she's Dr. Satya. She is the another coordinator of this particular faculty development training program. She's the associate professor in the Department of Civil Engineering of SPCE. So I'm very much happy to introduce Dr. R. Satya to you.
So good morning. Thank you, ma'am. Good morning, all. I welcome you all for the 6 days online FDP program, a Anna University sponsored FDP program. I'm Dr. R. Satya, Associate Professor, Department of Civil Engineering, SPCE. I joined the institute at November 2020, and I have total of 11 years of teaching experience. I completed my BE from Medco Shillong Engineering College and ME from Tyagaraja College, and I obtained my PhD degree from IIT Madras. I have a total of 11 years of experience. So it's a great honor and pleasure to coordinate the program with Madam. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Satya. So regarding this FDP program, actually, so we are here to learn more about this structural analysis one. So we have, of course, so all the syllabus contents will be covered in this particular FDP. But anyway, so this is going to be a 6 days program, as you know very well. So Anna University, they have specified certain guidelines for conducting this FDTP. So they have given 4 sessions per day. So totally we have 6 days. So you'll be having some 24 sessions. So of course, some few sessions we are planning for some quiz or tutorial. So not to bore you much on the topic alone, structural analysis topics alone. And so as you know very well, so we have some fixed syllabus prescribed by the Anna University. So we are going to cover all the contents in this particular FDP. and we have fixed speakers according to that, and we have only limited speakers in this particular FDP program, because as you know, in analysis, so we'll be having a lot of we'll be solving a lot of problems, and the sign convention will be different in different textbooks. But anyway, so what I felt is that, suppose if a particular unit is taught by a single teacher, it will be more useful to you, and also it will be easily understandable by all the participants. So in that way, so we have arranged for one particular unit, so we have arranged one speaker. So in that way, it has been planned. And coming to the instructions to the participants, as you know, so we have to submit a report to the Anna University at the end of the 6 days online FDTP. So as the instructions were already given to you, like we will record the attendance in the Google Meet. So you please, so we have given clear instruction in the WhatsApp group also, that please in your Gmail account, you please have your passport size photo. And after each session, so along with the speaker, we are planning for a group photo session, because that also has to be submitted to Anna University. So we'll be having a group photo session at the end of every session. So please prepare for that. And also please attend all the sessions, because in the guidelines specified by the Anna University, they have mentioned that so attendance is mandatory for all the sessions. And also after completing all the sessions on the last day, so we are having assessment test, because even in an AICT Atal FDP also, so in all the FDPs now, they are insisting to have an assessment test at the end of the faculty development training program. So here also on the last day, on Saturday, so we are planning for a assessment test, so which will be, the questions will be taken from the syllabus of this particular course. So we'll be conducting a MCQ test through Google form, and you have to submit the answers through the Google form. So it's a MCQ type of test, so which will be testing the basic, the concepts of this particular course. Okay, so no need to worry or bother much about this particular assessment test. It will be easier only. And please join for the sessions on time. And so as you know, the timings, the schedule is already circulated to all of you. So we have the first session from 9 to 10:30. Then we have the next session from 10:45 to 12:15. Then the afternoon session, you have 1:30 to 3, and then 3:15 to 4:45. So this is the plan of 4 sessions per day. So in all the 6 days, the same timings will be followed for all the 4 sessions. And regarding the assessment test, so you have to complete the test, and you have to secure 75% marks in the particular test, so in order to get eligible to receive the certificate from the Anna University. So you know very well, so the certificate is not issued by SPCE or the Department of Civil Engineering of SPCE. So after the completion of the course, and after submission of report from our side, so we have to submit a report to the Anna University, 1-page report, along with the list of participants, list of speakers, then recorded sessions, then group photos. So everything we have to submit to the Anna University. So after verification of all the documents, they will issue the certificate, to the participation certificate to the participants. Okay, so for that, you have to meet out the attendance requirements, and also you have to secure 75% marks in the assessment test. Okay, and also all the participants are requested to submit a declaration form, expected to submit a declaration form. So I've already circulated that form, but that is not the form exactly, actually. So are you able to see this form?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So you can see this form. So this is the declaration form. This is the format. Okay, so it should start like this: Center for Faculty Development. Anyway, we'll circulate this the form at the last day or before the last day. We'll send it to you. So you have to fill this up, and you have to put your signature with date. Okay, so this you have to submit at the end of the program. So all the participants must submit this, because we have to submit this declaration form signed by the participants also to the Anna University. So this you have to submit. And this schedule also we have circulated to all the participants. So you can see the schedule. It is having 4 sessions per day. Okay. So the morning we are going to start with the inaugural session by Dr. R. Sendil. Then we are going to have 2 sessions by Dr. K.S. Babu Narayan from NIT K. Subatkal. So here he is going to cover the strain energy method. Then the afternoon session, we'll be having a quiz by Dr. R. Satya. So there may be a change in schedule in the last session, so that we will inform anyway. In the tomorrow session, so we have the slope deflection method. So that will be covered by Dr. Praveen Kumar from BST College of Technology, Coimbatore. So the entire slope deflection method unit will be covered by Dr. S. Praveen Kumar. And in the morning Wednesday, so I have one session, so which is on OBE, that is outcome based education. So and the next unit, that is moment distribution method, so that will be covered by Dr. Tamilarasi. So half of the unit will be covered by Dr. Tamilarasi. She is from Sardar Vallabhai National Institute of Technology, Surat. And the next half of movement distribution method will be covered by Dr. S. Nagan, who is the professor from Tyagarajar College of Engineering, Madurai. And flexibility method will be taken care of by Dr. K. Aarti. She is from Alagappa Chettiar College of Engineering and Technology, Karaikudi. And again, the stiffness method will be taken over by Dr. S. Nagan. So he'll be covering the entire unit of the stiffness method. And as per the guidelines of the Anna University, actually, so we have to dedicate at least one or two sessions this to OBE or some development of e-content or e-resources, something like that. So based on that, so we have arranged two sessions by Dr. P. Malliga. She is Associate Professor in the Department of Computer Science and Engineering from NIEEE Chennai. So she is going to handle two sessions, one on e-content development and another one on open educational resources. So as I mentioned on the last day, that is Saturday, you'll be having an assessment test, okay, which is the MCQ type, and the last session will be a feedback and validity session. So this is the plan of this particular FDP program. So if you have any queries, just you can raise your queries now before Dr. Sarvil joins for the inaugural session. Any queries related to this FDP? So if there are no queries, so let us wait for Dr. Sarvil to join for the inaugural session. See, another important announcement is that this program can be conducted only if minimum of 40 participants is there, especially the external participants, we should have 40. So please join for the session because we have taken a lot of efforts and pain. We have put a lot of pain in arranging this FDP. So don't be absent for the sessions because otherwise we have to refund everything, right? So, and we have spent a lot of time also. So for the organizing this particular FDP program in terms of arranging the speakers and everything. So please attend the sessions without fail. Please, I request all the participants to answer in the chat box how many of you have handled this particular paper CE 8502 structural analysis one already. Suppose if you have handled, you please type yes in the chat box or no. So mostly I'm getting no responses. Then definitely this program will be so much useful for you. Yeah, another instruction is that you please have the calculator because it's a problem oriented course. So yes, a few speakers have requested that also, whether the participants, faculty members will be working on problems because they are planning for some tutorial sessions also, even the speakers. So you please have the calculator with you, please to respond to the questions raised by the resource persons. So definitely they are going to solve some problems so during the session. So please have the calculators with you. Thank you for sharing your responses in the chat box. So it will be shared in the WhatsApp groups. So whatever the presentation material that is given by the speakers, so that will be shared to all the participants through either WhatsApp group or through mail, preferably WhatsApp groups. So my request to you all that is that we are all teachers. So as teachers, we should not depend on study materials, right? Because we now expect all the students to go through the textbooks, reference books, etc. So as teachers, we have to follow that also. So we have to follow textbooks. We have to, read the textbooks. then only we can insist our students to develop the reading habits, refer some textbooks for their study purpose. So as teachers, definitely we have to refer the books. So good morning, sir. Good morning, Sendil, sir. So your mic is muted, sir. Your mic is muted.
Yeah, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, sir. Will you be able to share the screen, sir, or I'll be
No,
sharing?
I will share the
Okay,
screen.
no issues, no issues, sir. So shall we start the session? Sir?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So pleasant good morning to you all. So on behalf of Department of Civil Engineering, Sri Venkateshwara College of Engineering, I'm very happy to welcome you all for this inaugural session of 6 days online FDTP program on CES 8502 Structural Analysis 1. So this is going to be a 6 days program. And to grace this particular FDP program, so we have with us today Dr. R. Sendil, Professor and Head, Department of Civil Engineering, CG Campus, Anna University, Chennai. So, on behalf of all the participants present here, and on behalf of SBC, I'm very much happy to welcome Dr. R. Sendil to this inaugural session of this FDTP program. So, welcome you, sir.
Yeah, welcome.
Yeah. And I welcome all the participants. So we have registered for this program, and who have joined today for this inaugural session. So I welcome all the participants who are present here and who have registered from different institutions. So I welcome you all for this particular FDTP program. Now, in this occasion, I would like to acknowledge the Center for Faculty Development, Anna University, Chennai, so for sponsoring this FDTP program with full financial support. So I'd like to convey my sincere thanks to the Center for Faculty Development, Anna University, Chennai, in this occasion. So without much delay, so may I now invite Dr. R. Satya, Associate Professor, Department of Civil Engineering, to introduce Dr. R. Sendil to the participants.
So once again, good morning all. So I'm very much delighted to introduce Professor Dr. R. Sendil, Head of Division of Structural Engineering, Anna University, Chennai. About his educational qualification and experience, Sir has completed his Masters from Annamalai University in the year 1992 and PhD from Anna University, Chennai in the year 2002. He has 19 years of teaching experience and 5 years of industrial experience. So about his research and authorship, Sir has authored 3 books to list guidelines for retrofitting of building for Government of Tamil Nadu, steel and constructions for Ministry of Steel, teaching resources for structural steel design about his research proficiency. So 13 students have completed PhD and 2 students have completed the MS research program under his guidance, and 7 students are pursuing PhD. To his credit, Sir has published a lot of research papers and articles in international, national journals and conferences. Sir has also organized various seminars, conferences, workshops, and training programs at national and international level. His achievements has been recognized by various awards, out of which he has received the Active Consultant Award for the year 2012 for his contribution in the consultancy work by Anna University. So we are very happy to invite you for this FDT program, sir. So I request Dr. Professor Sendil to deliver the inaugural address. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, my screen is visible, ma? My screen is visible?
Yes, sir, visible, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Good morning. So it gives me immense pleasure in participating and delivering the inaugural address and the basic support introduction to structural analysis to in this faculty development program. Before I start into the subject, I want to give you a very basic information about this faculty development. So probably the Anna University, the faculty development center was created during Professor Vishwanathan Vice Chancellor period. And then at the time, what happens? So you all know that there is many engineering colleges started, and then with the ME qualification, the faculty members are inducted as faculty, and then not only the specialization discipline. For example, you may have a specialization in water resources or soil mechanics also in your PG, and you are allotted with many structural subject also. That is the situation till today also in most of the engineering colleges. And then to train the trainers, that is faculty. So this faculty development program, they thought that, so the next semester, whatever the course they are going to offer you, so the faculties are now given this training to all the faculty members. So that's why this faculty development center was started, and continuously we are supporting the financial aid to various colleges for conducting this faculty development program. Now, when you talk about this, one of the very important subject is this structural analysis. Probably in our participant group, probably most of you may be structural engineering specialization, and some of you may not be in structural engineering specialization. But the 45 hours what you are going to teach or what you are going to handle this, the structural analysis, the entire syllabus is covered during this 1 week period, so that with the class material and then knowledge, you confidently teach the students. Because this is one of the very basic subject, especially particularly the structural analysis is a very interesting subject, and it involves mathematics also. So the students may finding it very difficult for the structural analysis subject rather than the design subject. But when you talk about the structural analysis, so what is structural analysis? You are all familiar with the structural analysis. We have a configuration. We have a system of connected structural element subject to a particular type of loading. The structural system has to support without failure and without much deformation. So that is your structural arrangement and structural analysis. To know what are the forces and moments acting on various points, normally a structural engineer, when you solve a model in a 3-dimensional, we go to a system that we not looking at a member or we are not looking at a section. Even some of the structure, we look at a point, then point stress should not be more than the allowable stress of the material. So that is what your the structural system and structural analysis. In simpler sense, if you want to talk about structural engineering with respect to civil engineering, we design various structures, like we are designing buildings. So buildings will have a system. You have slab, beam, column, and foundation system that you know already. So you have a load transfer mechanism. The slab transfers the load to the beam. From the beam, the load is transferred to the column. From the column, it is transferred to the foundation. So you know this arrangement. So this load is this structural system is subjected to the various loading. For example, in building system, we normally design the building system for 2 types of loadings. The first one is gravity loading. You all familiar. The gravity loading is the dead and live load. We design the frames for dead and live load. In addition, the another system of forces is going to be the lateral loads. So lateral loads are introduced by the wind and the earthquake. So in combination of these loads and the load effects, and based on the form, we are going to analyze the structure. At the end of the analysis, what you are going to know, you are going to get the, because of the load, what are the forces and moments developed in the various structural elements. What is the force and moments in the beam? What is the force and moments in the column? What are the force and moments in the foundation? Now, based on these force and moments, we are going to design the structural system, and then we use the particular material, and we are going to size the element. We are size the element based upon the structural analysis. In the other hand, we also look into the deformation, how the building is going to deform, and what is the maximum deflection limit permitted by the code, whether our structure is going to deflect within that limit. Either it's going to be a gravity, it's a vertical deflection, or lateral load, you are going to talk about the drift of the building, so that the drift is going to be within the permission limit as prescribed by the code, as suggested by the code, we are going to check it. So that is what the whole structural system and structural analysis. Now, you all know, you are going to, you are all familiar with the various structural system. So the simplest system, what I am going to discuss about, the first one is the truss system. Now, in generally, the structural analysis, whatever you are discussing in the particular syllabus, we focus on only the analysis aspect and how you are going to form the various equations of equilibrium, and you are going to solve, and you are going to find the unknowns, the reactions, forces and moments and deformation. So this is what we are going to do it. But in real life problems, this structural analysis, along with the design as well as how you are going to execute it, all the three systems are integrated. But when the subject, you are studying it as a isolation, you study the analysis subject separately, you are studying the design separately, or you are teaching the design separately, and then you are talking about the construction methods and construction techniques are separately. But in real life problem, all the three are integrated. So that we have to keep it in our mind. See, most of the failures happening because of whatever you are doing in the analysis, okay, and then that has to be, again, it has to be reflected in the design, and then again from the design it has to go to the, from the design you have to transfer to the, you have to execute it. So all the three should be integrated. Otherwise what happened, your analysis is not valid. For example, whether this truss is visible to you, just
Yes, sir.
yeah, yes, this is a truss system. Probably you know that the various type of trusses, probably you all familiar, starting with the king post, the wooden trusses, king post truss, queen post truss, and then Pratt truss, span truss, parallel cord truss. Okay, so there are various systems are available. Okay, so the first choice is which type of system one has to choose. Okay, so unless you are familiar when designing the various type of trusses, you may not be able to know which type of truss is advantageous for the particular span. There are some guidelines are given, even the textbook itself. So up to 10 meter you have particular type of system you can choose, 10 to 20 meter you can choose particular system. This is only a guidelines. In the guidelines itself there are many types are available. So if you are practicing it and you are analyzing it and designing the many trusses, you will know for the particular span which truss is advantages, etc. Now I am going to give you a very, very simple example. This is a parallel cord truss. A truss span is given, and then we have a bottom cord, and then we have a top cord, and then we are going to have the bracing system. See, one of the simplest, the basic fundamental assumption what we are doing in the truss analysis, probably this everything, the lectures, they are going to cover the detailed manner, they are going to cover all the lectures. I'm going to mainly touch upon some salient features about that. Okay, so you all know that we are going to solve this truss by, there are very many methods are available, method of joints, method of section, etc. And then probably you are going to be introduced with what is determinate system and indeterminate system. With you have what is a internal indeterminacy and what is the external indeterminacy, etc., etc. Now if you look at it, now that and all will be covered very detailed manner in the subsequent lectures. So I don't want to touch upon all these things, but I want to just inform you. Normally this is a simply supported truss. Okay, when you talk about the simply support, that means your one end is a hinged end, another one end is a roller end. Whenever you talk about any truss system, it's a simply supported. Simply supported means one end is hinged, another end is a roller. And the basic assumption is all joints are pin jointed. Okay, now you can see that whatever the circles, okay, circle is denoted, so all the joints are pin jointed members, and then it is going to be loaded only in the joints. Why it is going to be only in the joints? Because of it's going to be an axially loaded member, or it's a truss member. There is no moment of inertia. It can carry only the area. We are going to consider in the designing of the truss system, we are going to use only the area. We are going to deal with only a compression or tension member, and then we are going to calculate the capacity. But if you are loading the truss member not at the joint, in between the member, in between the joints, means what happened? This is going to bend. Okay, so normally in the truss system, if you look at it, even in the practically, if you go and verify in the field, most of the truss system, they design as a pinned joint, but what happened? whenever you keep the purlins, it may be not located at the particularly at the joint. It may be at the some other location also. So that creates a bending effect on the your truss system. So what you assume is all pin jointed and then joints are loaded, but in practically we don't have the same. And then this is may not be very critical for a small spans. Normally when you do go with a 3-meter span or 4-meter span of a small industrial shed, this may not be a problem. But whenever you are going for a large shed like 30-meter, 40-meter spans, and then when you design the hangers, these and all very, very critical. If the simple mistake of this causes the collapse of the entire system. So whenever we have to do the system, we have to be, what are the assumption we are making while doing the analysis, that has to be replicate in the design and also in the construction. Then only your analysis is valid. Otherwise your analysis, whatever you are doing analysis, that is not useful. Now coming to the explanation about this boundary conditions plays a very, very important role. In the structural analysis, normally the peoples are not considering the boundary conditions properly. Okay. Now I just explain to you what are the boundary conditions. I want to be just being a truss system. I will just quote only a hinged joint. So the hinged joints are the pinned roller joints are given, roller joints and then hinged joints. The roller joint, the possible reaction is only a vertical reaction. And then you have a hinged joint. The hinged joint, 2-dimensional trusses, you are going to have 2 reactions. You have vertical reaction as well as horizontal reaction. You have Ry in the vertical reaction and Rx is the horizontal reaction. Suppose if you are doing a 3-dimensional trusses, what happens? Even 3-dimensional trusses, the roller will have only one reaction. But whenever the 3-dimensional hinge, whenever you are talking about the 3-dimensional hinge, there are 3 reactions are possible. One is vertical reaction, and what you are going to get 2 horizontal reaction. One is in the X direction, another one is the Z direction. So the 3 reactions are possible in a 3D hinge, and 2D hinge we have only 2 reaction, that is vertical and horizontal. And then when you have roller, this only a 1 vertical reaction is possible. So that you have to do it. Actually the simply supported, one end must be hinged, another end must be roller. That we have to ensure. But even when you are talking about the detailing of the structure, you have, suppose I will say RCC, a steel column, ISMB, and then you are going to have a cap plate, and then where your truss is going to sit on the cap plate. But both the columns we are going to have the same detailing on the top of the base plate and then the truss connection. But it should not be the same. So one end should be a hinge and another one is you have to specifically detail it as a hinge. There are the ways and techniques are available, construction methods are there. Normally it is going to be provided with a slotted hole, okay, so that the one support can move. Okay, other support may be a circular hole, one support may be provided with a slotted hole, so it can move. So that will provide as a roller effect. So one is hinged and the another one is a roller. That is very, very important. Now when you do the fabrication, that's what I told her. When you do the fabrication again, you know, pin jointed, now it's all rigidly welded. Okay, so this is not what we have assumed is going to be a pin joint. Okay, so they are going to be a something like this. No, the joints are not, it's going to be a really pinned. So when you talk about the really pinned, if you are having a bolted system, so that can give you a really the pin effect. Okay, so this is going to be a partially fixity will come, even though majorly it's a pinned, it's even though its behavior is pinned, but partly it will give you a fixed effect. So that can create the moment. So that causes the excess moment, and then there may be some small failure. There may be a small crack may occur in the pipes or your gasketing systems, and then it will continue, and then the failure may occur. So what I am just want to insist upon, the assumption whatever you are making in the analysis, the same thing you have to follow in the design, and then again with the fabrication and the erection. So then only your structural analysis is valid. So most of the structural analysis fail because whatever we assume at the design is one where whatever we are going to adopt it at the field is going to be slightly different. That you have to be very, very careful. Now, this is the example. This example I want to give you that this is the tallest tower. You all know that, Burj Khalifa. So probably it's going to be 828-meter height, and then probably the structural system is going to be one of the very, very important system, whatever they adapted. So whenever you are going to talk about the structural system, the configuration plays a very, very important role. So whenever you talk about the configuration, so probably even when you discuss about the lateral load resistance and all, simple configuration is going to be always the advantages compared to the complicated shapes. Now, whenever you are going to talk about the tall towers, so what type of configuration they have adopted and then how they have conceived the design. So that's what I am going to discuss with you, because this why I have taken this example. Probably we are going to do nowadays structural analysis by using the softwares. There are plenty of softwares are available for the structural analysis purpose. So some of you heard might be the StatPro, and then STRAP, Nastran, NISA, ANSYS, Abacus. There are plenty of softwares are available for the structural analysis. But whenever you are talking about these type of structures, so how much time you need for modeling? Now the modeling plays a very, very important role. Whenever you talk about the modeling, just I want to inform you that way back 15 years back, when myself and my professor, we are doing analysis for a crane at a Lakshadweep. When a crane structure, a simple crane, we want to design the crane for Lakshadweep. And then the crane may consist of a boom and then a supporting system. But you all know that there is a lot of advancement in your computer, both in software as well as in hardware. Okay, but when I was starting that exercise, okay, at the time, maximum what we can solve only, it's going to be a 600 members we can take at a time. So 600 into 6, 3600 degrees of freedom only we can solve. And then we have started, I myself started with doing analysis using a PC 386. So now you look at the hardware development from PC 386, then 486, then Pentium K, then you have i5, i7, now going to i10, like that. There is a lot of advancement in the hardware. Similarly, software also, the software earlier you have a restriction. So you cannot have more than this much degree of freedom, say 10,000 degrees of freedom, or you can analyze only 10,000 nodes or 20,000 nodes. Now, when you look at any software or any computer, so what you can solve unlimited degrees of freedom you can solve. And because of the computer also is going to be very powerful, so we can solve it within few hours of time. But when we started with the PC 386 with the 600 nodes, so always, it takes almost more than 12 hours for one run. Myself started, the program using the SAP program. The SAP is a main version, and then there is a version called the PC version, ASAP. So that is a CSI, Computer Structures India, CSI software. So it's from USA, California. They are producing it. Okay. So that a software is developed. So CSA software. So ETABS comes under that group. Okay, ETABS and SAPs are that family. So there is a PC version of that family is a ASAP. That ASAP only it can solve 600 nodes, that is 3,600 degrees of freedom. That took in a PC 486. That time it's going to be I am talking about 2002. It's a PC 486 was the advanced computer system. So that system took 12 hours for running that 600 degree. So in between, if you are not stuck up or if you are giving any wrong input, then after 12 hours only you know that whether it is wrong. Some input, whatever you are given is wrong. So again you have to spend 12 hours for again the next run. So when you talk about the tall building like this, Burj Khalifa, so how much time you need for analysis? So just you think about that. That's what even there was a international conference at Bangalore. Even I have attended that conference where I met the original designer of this Burj Khalifa. The structural engineers came, and then they also discussed about that. So mostly how they have conceived the configuration and how they have done the structural analysis. Now the structural analysis, they want to do the very fast construction. Mostly the structural analysis for the tall buildings and all based on the experience. So the experience, they are going to coin the member sizes and the arrangement, and then for counter check they will do the structural analysis verification. So similarly what they have done, this problem also, this tower also, they have done the coined the structural configuration and started the construction, and parallelly they have done the structural analysis, and then the structural analysis for completing the entire structural analysis, it took more than 1.5 years for completing the structural analysis. Complete structural analysis, it took more than 1.5 years for doing the structural analysis, where by the time they have started and completing some 10 floor or 15 floor, they have completed it. So the structural analysis, software's availability, and then its capability, and then the time, so everything is going to be important. Okay, so similarly what happened, now there is a lot of advancement is there, but the one thing what it's missing, the conceptually how you are going to make this configuration, and then how the force transfer mechanism is going to happen. So that we have to be very careful. Otherwise it's going to be, even you look at it, 1.5 years they took. Suppose even 1.5 years after that there is some, they found some error, then again it will take more time. So you have to be very careful in this analysis. Okay. Now the structural configuration alone, I have to just discuss about that. Okay, so the first thing what we talk about in any structural system, aesthetic is going to be one of the very important, because architecture is plays a very important role. Then functional requirement of the building. Okay, so what are the various functions of the building, whether it's going to be residential or it's going to be commercial, it's going to be a mixed crowd. So all these things you have to do it. In addition to that, you have structure must be a safe, and then serviceable, and then economical. So all the factors you have to consider. Suppose the configuration plays an important role. If you are choosing a wrong configuration, what happened? You need the more material or more resistance to be, we have to develop if you are not using the proper configuration. So that may increase your cost is going to be in multi-folds, the cost may increase. So the correct configuration you have to choose. So the configuration what they have adopted in the Burj Khalifa, it's a Y-shaped plan. Okay, the design helps to reduce the wind force on the tower, as well as to keep the structure simple and faster constructability. The structural system can be described as a buttress core and consists of high performance concrete wall construction. Now this is the view of another view of your the Burj Khalifa. So what you can see is going to be a Y shape. So this is a one arm, there is another arm, and then third arm. There are 3 arms are there. The arm 1, arm 2, and then arm 3. Okay, 3 arms, that is going to be your Y shape. So whenever you are going to have the wind blows in one particular direction, suppose in this direction it blows. So what happened? This wall, this arm is going to act as a buttress. It will resist that wind. So similarly, the wind changes its direction. So another wall will have a buttress effect, and then that will resist the wind. And again, what happened? This is keep on continuing. So the entire thing is not the Y shape. So they keep on reducing the floors, and then they brought to the top is going to be a very smaller floor, and then various arrangements are provided by them. So that structural configuration is very important. That's why I want to just show you the structural configuration is going to be the Y shape, and then it's keep on reducing, and then it's going to be coming to a very smaller central core alone. It's going to be come on the top of the building, the top high-rise building. Now when you look at the construction of this building, okay, you look at it, the 6 years, the January 2004 they have started the excavation, and then how the various stages were constructed. Now you say that February piling started, March superstructure started, June 6, within 1 year they have reached the 50th level they reached. So similarly, what happens? They within 4 years they completed the entire project. Okay, so almost it's going to be 160 story. Okay, so level 160 is reached within 4 hours period of time. Okay, that's why your construction also very important. You have to use proper construction techniques and then faster construction technique, whatever they adapted, so that they can able to reach and complete the construction. Now, in this context, I want to just inform you, there is a construction analysis, stage-wise construction analysis important whenever you are doing the tall building design. Now, this Burj Khalifa, what I want to know, they have done almost a continuous process. The construction is continuous. So, what they have done, they have raised the entire thing and then they have completed it. But most of the, in our country, sometimes when you are designing a structure, suppose you say, now our country also, we are designing a tall buildings. Now 27 stories, 30-story building and all, we have already done or cross-checked the designs. 30-story building. But a 30-story building, when you do the analysis, normally we analyze the 30-story building at a single model. But when you look at the construction, all the 30 stories are not constructed at the same time because of some financial problem. So what happened? They have some stages. They want to plan for first 10 story, they want to complete it, then wait for some 3 or 4 years, then next 10 story, then another 10 story. So whenever you are staggered the construction, what you should do, you should not do one analysis, you have to do 3 analysis based on how the construction takes place. Suppose you are designing first 10-story building and then you are going to construct it and then stop it. So what you should do, you do a 10-story building analysis. You have to find the force and moments. And next you are going to go up to 20, then you do one more analysis for 20 story and then calculate the force and moments and design the various structural analysis. Then finally is 30 story. So 30 story you have to do one analysis and then finally you have to compare. Now you may ask, sir, 30 story is going to be more. Why should I talk about 10 story? But you do whenever the real analysis, sometimes the 10 story force and moments are high when compared to the 30 story because you have a larger gravity load is there and then lateral load. Okay. And then your building configuration. So this plays a very, very vital role. So normally people are, they practically what they are missing, they are not doing the entire 30, they stop only one analysis 30 story, but that is not safe. So that construction stage analysis is going to be very, very important. Then your structural analysis, what you have to do it with the 3 steps, or suppose you are having 5 steps, you have to do the 5 analysis. So the structural analysis you have to do 5 times and then you have to arrive at the various designs. So that's why I just want to tell you about what are the various problems associated with the construction chain analysis and configuration. Now this is one of the building. This is one university building. Just I want to give you the problem faced by this building and how we have solved the building. Okay. So what this building? This is a building. This is for especially they want the fisheries type they want to use. Okay, fisheries research building. And then this is a circular shaped building. This the central portion is going to be a circular shape, and then this is provided with a shell. Okay, you have a shell and then you are going to have the monitor shell and then you are going to have the monitor. Okay, now this analysis was done by a few structural engineers, and then they brought this entire design to us to know how to de-shutter your shell. De-shuttering shell is going to be very, very important. Okay, not like your construction. Okay, the de-shuttering of the shells are going to be very, very important. Now, if you are not de-shuttering the shells as per the sequence, the entire shell may collapse. Because obviously, you know that a shell is used for, shell structure used for covering a long span, and the thickness is going to be very, very small, very thin. Okay. So, whenever you do the shell type of structure, normally we have to analyze, okay, how you are going to de-shuttering also. You have to do the shuttering and de-shuttering analysis you have to do. So they came to us and then for the de-shuttering sequence analysis, and then we want to do it. Then when we found that the structural analysis, we found a lot of error in that. Now you have a column, and then this is going to be you have a column. This all a circular building. You have on the peripheral you have column, and then this is the entire shell. Okay, the shell, what happened? The shell is providing a lateral thrust to the column. Whenever you are going to have a dome or dome kind of structure, always the dome or shell is going to be tried to flatten out. You have a shell, and then if you are loading it, what will happen? It will try to flatten out. So similarly, what happened? This shell is going to pushing the column. It will try to flatten and pushing the column, and that causes the excess shear to the column, and that was not accounted properly by the designer. But when we do the analysis, we found that not only the destructuring, demolding structural analysis, and also we found that we found that the columns are not safe. It is going to be is in trouble. It is going to cause us the truss is going to, the shell is going to push the column, and it introduce the shear, and that shear is going to be sudden failure. So the columns are not withstanding. Then that problem, by the time they have come to a stage of the stage up to the casting of the shell, they are come to the casting of the shell. Then what we have done the read and the analysis, and then we want to help. So what we have provided, the wings we have provided, whatever you are seeing, that 1, 2, and then backside 1, 3. Okay, we have provided a 3 buttresses. Okay, so original building was only circular building, whereas we provided a 3 buttress. Whatever is the fish shape, whatever you are seeing it, that buttress we have provided that. Okay, we have provided that, and then whenever the pushing the building, so the buttress is going to be give the stability to the building. So like that we have solved this additional elements we have added. Since it's a fishery structure, so we suggested that this is like a fish wings. So like that aesthetically we have camouflaged the designer are also into the camouflaged with the buttresses, and then we have solved, and then we have given the solution. So that was completed, and then that structure was completed, that structure was inaugurated, and then it is now serving its purposes. Now the structural configuration, mainly it's going to be, you know, that there is a very complex shapes. Nowadays, you know, the architects, they want to be a very the structure is going to be a very unique, tall. So like that there is a the competition among architects. So they are going to give very many configuration like this. Okay, the very complex shapes. So whenever you do the complex shapes, so how to estimate the various effects like wind load, how to calculate the wind effect on this type of complex shapes, and how to calculate the how the seismic load is going to act on this type of complex shapes. What we know only for the simple system we are know very well. But whenever you are complex shapes, what you have to be very careful. You have to not only you should understand not only our codes, you have to refer the international codes also. Whenever wind, you have a wind tunnel study, and similarly whenever you have a shake table model studies can be possible whenever you are dealing with a complex shapes, very tall building, and whenever the complex shapes. So you have to be very careful for the structural analysis. So the overview of that, what I want to insist upon, the structural analysis is very important, and then you are learning the subject the 45 hours about the how to do the structural analysis for various elements like truss, frame, and then combined effect of frame and truss system. And then when you do for advanced analysis like matrix methods are going to be covered in this entire 45 hours. And then there are some codings also, some softwares also going to be demonstration will be given to you. So understand that. So the structural analysis and design and construction, so all this should be to be integrated, though we teach the subject in a compartment wise. So we have to link these compartments. So that link is given in the during the project work. So the student can take the project or mini project on the complete building system, and then he can understand how the configuration, how the structural analysis, how the design, how the construction. So that is covered in the entire syllabus. So I take this opportunity to thank the coordinators for giving me this opportunity to share some of the view on the structural analysis. And then I have gone through the various speakers about the various speakers they invited for these lectures. So almost all of them are the expert in that particular structural analysis, like Dr. Babu Narayan, Dr. Nagan. So like that, there are many other youngsters from PSG and NITs are called. So they are going to give you the basics of the structural analysis, and then the nuances of the structural analysis they are going to discuss with you. So feel free to interact with the speakers. The one thing is, as a teacher, this is a faculty development program. Okay, it is not like what you are, as a student, how you learned is different. Now, as a teacher, how you are going to learn is going to be different. So more interaction is very much needed. So you clarify your doubts. So the teachers are available to you, the experts are available to you. So clarify your doubts. So make use of the lecture, attend all the lectures, and then work out the problems given to you, so that you thorough with the structural analysis, so that you can go and teach the structural analysis subject confidently, so that the younger generation is benefited. So with this, I thank again the coordinators, Dr. Kumuda and Dr. Satya, for giving me the opportunity. So I am another few minutes are available. Any questions I am ready to answer, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Sendil, for your nice overview on this particular course, Introduction to Structural Analysis. And thank you for explaining how this particular course is very much useful for the design of structural systems, whether it is a simple structural system or complex structural system. And also you have highlighted about the use of software, especially nowadays, so for the design of various structural systems. So thank you so much for your informative lecture. So as Professor Sendil pointed out, so the purpose of this FDTTP program is to give wide exposure to the participants and also to develop confidence among the faculty members, handle this particular course in a very confident way without any difficulty. And I hope this particular FDTP will provide a platform for all the participants to learn more about this particular course, structural analysis. And now the forum is open for discussion. So suppose if you have any queries with Professor Sendil, you can just unmute yourself and you can raise your questions to Professor Sendil.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
My name is Raja. I'm from Thamarabaran Engineering College.
Yeah.
Talking about that fisheries department structure,
Okay.
why can't we provide a ring beam for that dome and shell structure?
Yeah, it was provided with a ring beam on the top, but still the thrust is more. You have a circular building, they have provided the ring beam, hoop tension, it has to transfer by hoop tension, but still what happened, it is, this is the configuration of the shell, the thrust, whatever you are going to come, say shear is going to be more, very high. The shear is going to be very high in the column. That's what we found because of the configuration arrangement. There is no central column. So only a circular peripheral columns were there. So, and then the shell is provided. So the shell is trying to move. Okay, even though it's a circular balloon, it's also provided on the top, it is not adequate. The circular beam size is not adequate. That's why I told, because circular beam already they casted. And then they came to a stage that they want to casting of the shell. So that is situation, we cannot alter that ring beam also. And then the forces are going to be very heavy. So the only option what we have given, so it's going to be a buttress on the 3 sides. And again, we have camouflaged with the fish shape. So that error cannot be visible outside.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir, is there any possibility for retrofitting by using pre-stressed beam on that area?
It is possible. See, one thing is, that's why we are nowadays, just I want to give the importance. Now you all know that there is a peer review or proof checking is mandatory for the tall buildings. Now the CMDA or other corporation, now vetting of structural design is going to be mandatory. Okay. Now what happens? The structural designer, whatever they conceived, they have just missed, because they have done a structural analysis, then they found it, because software. So that's why I want to give you a caution, because most of the youngsters, what they do, they only depend on the software. They don't have the feel of the structure and what are the force and moments are coming. Even a small error, it is very difficult to identify. So, but what you do is you do a analysis, and then finally you are going to get 10,000 pages of output, 10,000 or 15,000 pages of output. Okay, so it has to be proof checked by the next designer. Now the problem is you have come to that stage. At that stage, if you say that your design is wrong, we have not come to that stage in our country. So most of the Western countries, how they looked at these type of errors, what went wrong? They may not look at who is wrong. Okay, so but in our country, what know who is wrong? So we don't want to put the designers in trouble. Okay, so it should not be known to the outside world that it's a pre-stressing, because pre-stressing it's an option. But what do you know? No, you need a pre-stressing, but your tender condition may not have the pre-stress. Your tender may have only a concreting and steel is available, piling is available, steel is available. So you can cast with the conventional materials are available. So when you go with the different type of new system, for new system, the contractor may not agree, or cost may not be adequate. So the funding problem may arise. So that's why we are not gone for the other type of repair or rehabilitation techniques. But it is possible to go for some other techniques also. Alternate strengthening techniques are available.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
So if no questions, we can conclude this session with a note of thanks to Professor R. Sendil. So thank you, sir, for accepting our invitation to inaugurate this particular FETP program. So on behalf of SVC and on behalf of all the participants present here, so I am very much happy to thank Dr. R. Sendil for gracing this particular occasion. Sir, Sendil sir, we can have a group photo session now. So
Okay.
can you please stop sharing this screen, sir?
Okay.
Yes, sir. So I request all the participants also to switch on video if possible, so that we can have a group photo session. Dr. Satya, are you ready for that?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Now, Satya, please inform us once it's over, right?
Yes, ma'am. So one of you have joined for the photo session, ma'am.
Sir, please switch on your camera, please. The participants, you have to switch on your camera because we have to submit this to university also. Okay, so please switch on your camera.
So Mr. Veerapatran, Arun Raj, Dennis Flora, Gurnath, Ms. Divya, Ranjita. Please switch on your video.
Anyway, Dr. Satya, you please take some screenshots, right? Yeah.
Okay, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Done. Thank you all for joining the photo session.
So thank
Yes,
you
ma'am.
all. Thank
It's
you all.
done.
Yes, yes.
Thank you all for
Yeah.
joining.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
My
thank
best
you.
wishes. My best wishes to
Yeah.
all, and my wishes to the coordinators also. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Yes.
sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. So dear participants, you please join for the next session at 10:45. I think you have the link for the second session. So you please note that the meeting links are different for different sessions. So please join through the corresponding links for the sessions. Okay. So we'll meet again at 10:45. So we have the session by Dr. K.S. Babunarayan from NIT K. Surathkal. So we're handling on strain energy method. Okay. So please join for the session at 10:45. So thank you all. Thank you all.